quarterbacks will win you your fantasy football leagues in 2024. What's going on, football fans and fantasy freaks? It's Mitch here, back with another fantasy football advice video. And in this video, my must-draft QBs to crush your league mates in 2024. That's right, the quarterbacks you have to draft this fantasy season. If that sounds good, don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe to OwnersBox Fantasy for more fantasy football content and advice entering this season. Also, comment in the comment section below your opinion on the must-draft quarterback of 2024 and any QB questions you may have. Let's go. Let's begin with the first must-draft quarterback of 2024, and that's none other than the best of the best. Josh Allen is the #1 must-draft quarterback of 2024. He is the QB1 in fantasy football, not only projected for 2024, but also from 2023. Josh Allen was one of the most valuable players in all of fantasy last year. Even as a quarterback, he led the position by 3 points per game last season as the quarterback one. He set a record for rushing touchdowns. This man is a touchdown machine. And the reason he is so consistent in fantasy football, he has never finished since 2020 below the QB2 in fantasy football. He's the most consistent fantasy asset there is. And that's why you draft him. QB1 in 2020, QB2 in 21 and 22, and then QB1 in 2023. The reason you draft him is for that consistency. The reason you draft him is because he's the one-man show of the Buffalo Bills. Because almost every touchdown that involves the Buffalo Bills, which is a good offense, involves Josh Allen. He's rather throwing it or he's running it. The main concern with one of my must-draft running backs, James Cook, is that too many of the touchdowns are going to be ran in by number 17. Because Josh Allen is not only a great thrower of the football, but he's basically the new Cam Newton when it comes to touchdowns in the red zone at the quarterback position. He's a constant double-digit threat for rushing touchdowns. He has the most touchdowns in the NFL since the year 2020. And he led the NFL in total yards last season. Whether it's throwing or rushing, Josh Allen's going to get it done. And I believe, even without Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen is still going to be very successful. Curtis Samuel is a multi-dimensional weapon. He can really threaten defenses down the field. Khalil Shakir is a slot shifty option. Coleman is a promising jump ball receiver that Josh Allen called the best in the air that he's ever seen. And Dalton Kincaid in year 2 could really break out. There's plenty of targets for Allen to feast once again in fantasy and become the quarterback one. So if you're looking at the elite tier, the guy to spend on is Josh Allen for that consistency. The second must-draft quarterback of 2024 is Joe Burrow. Slim Shiesty. That's right. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. QB7 right now as he's being drafted. And Joe Burrow, I think people forgot how good he is. People forgot about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, the last time he was healthy in a full NFL season, was QB4 in fantasy football in 2022. And I believe that 2024 is going to be Joe Burrow's best season of his NFL career. That includes 2021 getting to the Super Bowl. That includes that year of 2022. I believe that Burrow, without Joe Mixon, the best offensive line of his career, and a great deep receiving core, is going to throw the football a lot thanks to a lesser reliant rushing attack. And because he has so many weapons to work with, he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. I could see a lot of volume from Joe Burrow. You combine that with an okay defense, but not a dominant defense. Mahomes could have a dominant defense, maybe even Stroud. Allen definitely has a consistently good defense. Lamar could have a dominant defense. Jalen Hurts has a more talented defense. But the quarterback that's right around that elite top 7, top 8 quarterback range in fantasy, that doesn't have the best defense in the world, the most dominant defense, doesn't have the best rushing attack in the world, is Joe Burrow. Burrow has to be the most valuable player for the Bengals to reach their level of success. And I believe it's very possible given their fourth place schedule in the AFC North, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins in a contract year, an improved tight end position with plenty of depth, young receivers galore at wide receiver 3, 4, and 5. And like I said, Trent Brown, Orlando Brown, Amarius Mims, the deepest and best offensive line he's ever had. So I think Burrow is worth it. Despite being a pocket quarterback that does not run the ball a lot, I expect a ton of passing volume and a ton of passing touchdowns and a ton of shootouts to win for Joe Burrow in 2024. The third must-draft quarterback of 2024 is Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals, currently being drafted as QB 10 in fantasy football. This is outrageous value for one of the best cheat codes in all of fantasy. Kyler Murray has never, and I mean ever, when healthy, been this bad. And I mean, he's never been QB 10. He has never been worse than where he's being drafted. In 2020, he was QB 2, only behind Josh Allen. In 2021, he was QB 4 in points per game. In 2022, he was QB 9, and that was probably the worst season of his career. And last year, he was QB 9 in points per game. So the last 2 years where he has not played as well, he's still been better than where he's being drafted. And he was coming off an ACL last season. So Kyler Murray is a cheat code in fantasy because he's the human road runner. He's so quick, he's so twitchy, he's so fast, he's a great rusher of the football at the quarterback position. And very much in a Josh Allen-like way, if Kyler Murray is not Superman, the offense struggles because the pass protection isn't super amazing, although I do think the O-line is underrated thanks to the addition of Jonah Williams and having now Paris Johnson in year 2 on the left side. I like the weaponry. I feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a superstar from day one. Greg Dortch is one of the most underrated slot receivers in football. Michael Wilson, everyone's raving about him as wide receiver 2. And Trey McBride might be a top 3 or 4 tight end in the sport already, along with James Conner, a very capable pass catcher out of the backfield. So I look at this offense, and with Drew Petzing as well, an up-and-coming coordinator, I think Kyler could rush for a ton of yards. I think they're going to have to be in a lot of comeback scenarios, a lot of passing situations, a lot of trailing scripts because their defense is not very good. They play a very difficult division. They play overall in a setting where they have to score to win, which means a lot of fantasy points, which means a lot of passing volume, which means Kyler's going to be airing that thing out or he's going to be running for yards. So just like Josh Allen, the Cardinals are going to score because of Kyler Murray, which makes him such a valuable fantasy asset. He is my third must-draft quarterback of 2024. My fourth must-draft quarterback of 2024 is my guy, the underdog. I call him Rocky Balboa. His name is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is the fourth must-draft quarterback of 2024. Just like Kyler Murray, you're getting Brock Purdy at an extreme discount. I'm not sure if it's whether people believe that Brandon Ayuk will be traded or the Niners have a Super Bowl hangover and will fall apart. I'm not exactly sure, but Brock Purdy's being drafted as the QB 11 when once again, he has never finished that low or even close. Even coming into 2022 where he was almost undrafted, he was Mr. Irrelevant. He comes into the Niners lineup and Brock Purdy put up numbers. QB 9 in 2022 in the games that he played. Then last season, that only went up. He was QB 6 in fantasy football, and similarly, he was disrespected last year. So now you can get him at QB 11. I think he's easily a QB 1 because he plays in the best offense in football, with the best set of weapons in football, with the best play caller in football, with the best left tackle in football, right? Like, this guy is in a perfect situation. Plus, on top of that, he has a full offseason to actually grow as a player. Last offseason, he was recovering from the elbow injury that he had and sustained. So he wasn't really able to build upon the mental game of what he had previously as a rookie. So he was epic in 2022, despite all the wear and tear and recovery that he had to go through. And now 2023 could truly see a massive breakout in terms of Purdy going from a good game manager, almost system quarterback, to an MVP true stud quarterback. So with all those weapons, with that offense at his disposal, Brock Purdy feels very safe and comfortable and an extreme value in fantasy. My fifth must-draft quarterback of 2024 is Caleb Williams, the rookie sensation, the first overall pick of the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, right now, his ADP is QB 15, which just flat out makes no sense. And I think in some settings, he goes behind Jaden Daniel. Caleb Williams is a great prospect. Caleb Williams is in a great situation. Caleb Williams was made for fantasy football. Caleb makes a ton of outside of structure plays, throws, and runs. He's a great athlete. He's capable of running and picking up yards and rushing touchdowns. And he's going to make a lot of plays down the field throwing the ball. This guy, I could see having an Andrew Luck-like season. He very well could, because he's going to have to play a pass-first offensive style with those receivers. They're going to put the ball in his hands. And I feel the defense is solid, but I don't think it's phenomenal to the point where they're just going to flat out win defensive games against the best teams in the NFC to be able to compete for a playoff spot. And the way that he looked in the first preseason game, he looks ready to play right now. And he really looks like the offense with Shane Waldron is going to mesh towards his skill set, and they're going to put the ball in his hands and let him cook. So to me, Caleb has Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift catching the ball out of the backfield, Gerald Everett. He's got plenty of options to throw the ball to. He was made for fantasy with his skill set of running and throwing, and he is one of the best prospects we have ever seen in the NFL. He is definitely a value in fantasy drafts right now. My sixth must-draft quarterback of 2024 is none other than the always perennially underrated Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is a must-draft quarterback in deeper formats, and or if you wait on quarterback. If you just completely forget it for about 10 rounds, you can still land Matthew Stafford. Right now going as the QB 20, which is flat out insane for a player that is borderline a Hall of Famer. Like, Matthew Stafford not only is a borderline Hall of Fame talent who has a Super Bowl on his resume and plenty of huge epic touchdown and yardage seasons in Detroit and LA, but he's also in one of the best offenses in the league, with one of the best wide receiver combos in the league, with one of the best play callers in the league. This ranking, ADP, whatever you want to call it, makes absolutely zero sense. Outside of a Matthew Stafford injury, he is going to surpass this ranking, this ADP. Stafford was QB 18 overall in 2023, and that's despite missing some games. He was QB 5 in 2021, the year that the Rams won the Super Bowl. QB 5. He was a top half QB1. And from weeks 11 to 17 last year in 2023, which I think really showed us the peak of the Rams offense, or the best of the Rams offense, which is going to carry over into next year. And this, meanwhile, is while Cooper Kupp was not at his best either, right? Jonah Jackson wasn't on the team yet on the offensive line. The Rams and Stafford, QB 7. So I expect Stafford to have to throw the ball a lot, to have to throw touchdowns, because the defense is a bottom 10 unit in the league. They lost Raheem Morris. They lost Aaron Donald. This is not a team that's going to just run the ball and just going to play defense and win games. This is Sean McVay. They're going to be balanced on offense, but at the end of the day, Stafford could very well throw 30 plus touchdowns, 4,000 plus yards, and nobody would be surprised because he's Matthew Stafford. Everybody regards him as a top 10 real life quarterback, but for some reason in fantasy, he's forgotten. So that's just a weird one. My final must draft quarterback of 2024, and my honorable mention is Gino Smith. Gino Smith is currently being drafted as QB 24. Do we just completely forget the 2022 NFL season in which Gino Smith was 10th in quarterback fantasy points per game? 10th. Last year, I get it, he was QB 25, I think, right? Like, that was the absolute worst Gino Smith could perform. In 2022, he was QB 10 in points per game, QB 5 overall. He has DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant, Kenneth Walker, a new offense that's pass first coming from Washington in the college level that wants to get the ball vertically. They just signed Connor Williams at center. They had a disastrous offensive line due to injuries last year. Last year was the worst of Gino Smith. This year is going to be much better. I expect much better statistics, much better fantasy production. In a 2-quarterback league, in a super flex, I would very much be looking at Gino Smith to add to my roster. Those are my must-draft quarterbacks of the 2024 fantasy football season. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching. Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe.